Sure. So we work with schools, youth centers, sports clubs, and workplaces to create a culture of belonging where everyone feels like they are safe, there's emotional safety, and it's a bully free zone. So,
This is Chocolate and Coffee Break, a compassionate proposition, a space to share stories, bridge divides, and spark meaningful connections. So grab your chocolate, pour your cuppa, and let's break down barriers, one conversation at a time. And now, here's your host, Andrea Pudding.
Welcome to Chocolate and Coffee Break. And I hope you've got your chocolate and you've brewed yourself a nice cuppa and we're ready to go because we've got another great episode waiting here for you. So today's guest is someone whose voice carries both wisdom and lived experience. Ron Pasad is a co-founder of the Beat Bullying with Confidence Foundation, and he's on a mission to create emotionally safe environments in schools and workplaces. His passion stems from his own journey with bullying and the challenges of growing up with a speech impediment. Before we dive in, I like to start with one of my conversation starters, or we're going to call them heart openers. And so today, my question for you, Ron, is what does emotional safety look like to you?
good morning, Andrea. Thank you for having me on the show. Emotional safety is when you are allowed to be yourself without the fear of being judged or criticized or being looked down at. Emotional safety allows a person to express themselves openly, knowing that there is a safe space for them to do so.
And that's so important for everyone. We all want to feel like we have that we can walk into a situation and feel like we're not going to be bullied, attacked, ridiculed, or rejected. So it's a very important one that we need to be aware of. So I know that's a very important topic for you because of what you do. So I'd love to hear the background of your story before we get into what you do with beat the bullying. What is it, the background that made you so passionate about this topic?
Sure, thank you, Andrea. So, I've got lived experience of bullying, as you mentioned earlier. My best friend and I were bullied at high school extensively to the point where we wanted to drop out of school, don't go back because things got really difficult. And back then, I'm talking about the early 90s, there wasn't as much support as there is now. So we got bullied, we had supported each other throughout high school, we got through it. And then in 2014, we decided that we should support other people who are getting bullied, and we formed our charity Beat Bullying with Confidence Foundation, which is registered with the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission. And now we're on a mission to support as many kids as we can to overcome bullying with confidence. And we also work with parents to support their kids who are getting bullied at school.
And that's such an important thing, which we're really going to get into. Before we do, now when you're a child, you had a speech impediment, you had a lisp, and that kind of contributed to some of the bullying, didn't it?
Yeah, I had a speech impairment. I've got a visual impairment as well, and that really contributed to the bullying, made me a target of bullying. And I'll share a quick story with you, please, Andrea. So,
Yes.
you've obviously heard of Toastmasters International, which is
Yep.
an organization for speaking and leadership. I joined Toastmasters International in 2008 just to have more confidence in speaking. And I competed in a contest because they have contests. And at the end of the contest, one of the judges went to the front of the room and in front of everyone, he said, Ron, there was a great speech, but for someone who has a speech impediment, you should not be speaking in public.
Mm.
And that to hear that as an adult, there was what 2009, I think, that really affected me. But that just gave me the impetus to improve as a speaker. And now I've spoken in front of thousands of kids all over the country. So yeah,
So that's a great message to any young child that has any kind of disability at all,
yeah,
not
yeah.
to take notice of people like that.
No, no.
So I just think it's amazing to think from that point where you are now, because I know I've heard you speak. You're a great speaker.
Thank you.
So that's an amazing achievement.
Thank you.
So what is so just give me a little bit of the story of that you work with, the about the organisation.
Sure. So we work with schools, youth centers, sports clubs, and workplaces to create a culture of belonging where everyone feels like they are safe, there's emotional safety, and it's a bully free zone. So working with schools is challenging, Andrea, especially with the advent of social media. Bullying has gone like to another level at the moment. It's really challenging for parents to support the kids who are getting bullied. We do a lot of work with parents as well, because if a child is getting bullied, there are some signs that parents can observe and know something is not right. And the child will not always be transparent with the parent and say, I'm getting bullied. Sometimes the child will say, I'm okay, leave me alone, everything is fine. And we educate parents to look for those small or subtle signs that your child is getting bullied. And once the parent can see that the child is getting bullied, something is not right, there are certain things that a parent can do. And we work very closely with parents to support their children in overcoming bullying.
Yes, and I can imagine that the word bullying with what is happening to a child, they may not associate that, because as an adult, I was in a workplace and it was became quite toxic, and I was quite depressed, and I hated being at work. I would rather be anywhere else but at work. And this was going on for some months before one night I just, in the middle of the night, I just, oh, I think I'm being bullied. And then I had to go look it up to really get the idea of go, well, hang on, am I experiencing bullying, or is it, what is it? So if I'm feeling like that as an adult, it took me a long time to recognize that. I can imagine for a child to, especially a young child, to get the
Yeah,
wording around it, to understand what's going on,
yeah,
is quite a difficult thing.
yeah. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Sometimes children, especially at primary school, they might think that they have done something to deserve the bullying, and they
Yes.
start asking questions of themselves. What's wrong with me? Why are they picking on me? What have I done wrong? And my message to those kids is that no one deserves to get bullied. You have done nothing wrong. Be yourself. Be proud of who you are. And if you realize that you are getting bullied, please talk to your parents. That's my first message to kids who are getting bullied. Please do not try to think that you will figure this out by yourself or you will be okay. Talk to your parents, get support. That's my big message to kids who are getting bullied at school.
Yeah. And having those, giving them that
Yeah.
knowledge
Hmm.
that this is what bullying is.
Yeah.
If this is what you're experiencing, that's not acceptable at
No,
all. You don't deserve that.
no.
There's other ways of dealing with things that we can look at and try to help them with.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah. So let's jump to a quick break so I can have a nice piece of chocolate, and we can while we can watch these ads and feel like and get to know people who are supporting this show. And while we're doing that, you can subscribe, like, and comment on the show, and have a bite of chocolate.
When I hit perimenopause, all I heard was doom and decline until I took a sacred pause and I went searching for women who are radiant after menopause, like Dr. Christiane Northrup, Dr. Vandana Shiva, and the late Dr. Gladys McGarry, still shining at 103. In this book, I share their stories and wisdom and the magic that menopause truly holds. Seven Wonders of Menopause is a sacred reminder. You're not ending, you're returning. Available at independent bookshops in Australia and Amazon around the world.
Did you know that only 30% of speakers are women and that only 13% of panels feature women? In order to change that, there is now a directory at womenspeakers.com.au where you can go and search for a speaker. We also have groups on Facebook and LinkedIn under the name Australian Women Speakers, where you can just go and post about your event and women will respond.
So, Ron, I'd like to. Can you share with us some of the stories that you're hearing about children being bullied and what the outcome is when they are being bullied?
Oh, Andrea, where do I start? I've got so many
Mm.
stories, and some of them are pretty bad. So, before I share these stories, a bit of a trigger warning. If this upsets you or disturbs you, please go and speak to a professional and get some support. I've heard many stories. I gave a workshop for parents who are getting bullied at school, who parents whose kids are getting bullied at school at a community center in March, so what, almost 4 months ago. And this man was telling me that his son is in year 9 at the moment. So that's in Australia, you start high school at year 7, you go all the way up to year 12. Past 3 years, he has been bullied extensively at school. He has approached the school, the high school, spoken to them about it, and he said, "Can you please separate my son from the bullies? Put him in another class." And nothing's happened. Can you believe that, Andrea? This is the third year that this has been happening, and the school has done nothing. Now, I don't blame the schools because at school they've got a lot on their plates. And on top of that, you've got to look after kids who are getting bullied. So I told this man, remind the school that they have a duty of care towards your child, to look after your child. And if they still do not agree to have a meeting with you to discuss this, to provide safety for your child, approach the Department of Education. And now every state or territory in Australia has got a Department of Education. They look after the schools. So I told this man to approach the Victorian Department of Education and tell them what's going on. And as soon as he mentioned the Department of Education, the school called him straight away. And so far, they've had 2 meetings with the school to discuss this. And they have separated the bullies from the child. And the child is feeling a bit better at the moment. The point of sharing this story is that it took almost 2.5 years for this issue to be raised to a level where the school could do something to keep the child safe. So my message to any parents whose kids are getting bullied at school, as soon as you find out that your child is getting bullied at school, approach the school straight away, ask for a meeting. If they push back, remind them, you have a duty of care to look after my child. And if you do not agree to support my child or look after my child, I will escalate this with the Department of Education.
And if that's what it takes, you got to do whatever it takes to protect your child. It's so
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
How can parents protect their children at home? Because where a lot of kids have been attacked through social media.
Very good question. Very good question, Andrea. At home, I would suggest to parents to create a safe space where the kids can talk openly to their parents about what's happening in their lives. So, if a child is getting bullied, the child should feel that it's okay for me to approach my mom or my dad and talk openly and tell my parents what's going on. And parents can do simple things like a small daily check in with your child. How was your day? Is everything okay? Are you happy at school? Small questions like that, in the child's mind, the child will start thinking, okay, my parent wants to know about this. Let me open up. Let me have that dialogue and that conversation to let my parents know what's going on. Now, do I expect every child to open up and tell the parents what's going on? No. That's when the parents have to use their own discretion to figure out what's going on. If the child says, yes, I'm fine, good, fine, everything's okay, and that keeps happening, then the parent should realize something might be going on. Let me dig a bit deeper.
Yes, because kids will often just say, "Yeah, fine, everything's fine." I mean, we all
Yeah,
do that, don't we? We
yeah,
all have
yeah,
those moments where we don't wanna necessarily share what's going on in our life, and we just go, "Yeah, fine. I'm fine. I'm fine." But with kids, I guess they do the same thing. I know my grandson doesn't share a lot when he comes home from school necessarily either, and he's only 6.
yeah.
But getting those kids to talk. What are the tools we can give our children
Sure.
to
Great
help
question,
them?
Andrea. Great question. First and foremost, encourage them to speak openly. If the child says something to you, just say, thank you so much for sharing. So, going back to the question I was talking about, asking your child, how was your day? Is everything okay? And the child goes, I had a good day. I played at lunchtime. My teacher was happy with me. Tell the child, oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. If you ever need to talk to me about anything, I'm here to listen. Creating that safe space for the child is so important.
So, would encouraging them to talk about their friends, talk about the other children
Yeah.
in their class, would that also be a really helpful thing to do?
Definitely, definitely. Ask them to talk about how their day was, how's the teacher, if they played sport, how do you think you went, how's your friend? Mention the friends' names, how's Mary, how's Jimmy going, is everything okay? And make those conversational conversations really personal with the child so that you can connect at a deeper level with the child, and that will help the child to realize that if things are not going right, I can open up and talk to my parents openly, and I know I will be supported.
And that's important to be doing that through their primary school years, their early school years, because when they get to teenagers, they tend to clam up a bit. So, how do we deal with that one? How do we deal with the teenagers at that point?
That's great. With the teenagers, sometimes it's good to give them some space and just say, look, I'm here for you. If you need to talk, please let me know. But once again, keep the dialogue open, remind them that you're there for your support, and check in on them on a regular basis.
Yeah, got to keep them talking
Yes.
is the important thing. So, what can we do to encourage schools to keep an eye out for bullying?
One of the things I would suggest to schools is to observe the patterns of behavior of children. If a child is reported for bullying, support that child. Like no one is born a bully, it's a learned behavior. And that's something we do at Beat Bullying with Confidence Foundation. We have worked with kids who have been reported for bullying behavior because it's something they learn, it's something they can unlearn and start to behave in a more positive way. And it doesn't take a lot of work, Andrea. It doesn't take a lot of work to support a child to turn around their behavior and start doing something positive with their life.
Yeah, so it's often for schools in particular is to recognise the kids who have those tendencies to bully others and to work with
Yes,
them.
yes, that's exactly right.
There's what's going on in their life
Yeah,
to for them to want to treat other children that way.
yeah,
So
yeah, yes,
yeah, really important that we look at all angles, isn't it? We can't
yes,
just look at one thing
yes,
and say that's the thing. We have to look at the cause of where does that come from? Where is it that this tendency to bully is starting from?
yeah, indeed.
So is it the child's self-worth? Is it something going on at home?
Yeah,
Oh gosh, there's so much thing. When my
yes,
mind starts to wander on that, I think, oh, there's so many things that we could look at and really jump into as far as how do we how do we work with this? So
yeah.
you've got a big job there, Bron.
Thank you, thank
Big
you,
job, and it's a really important job.
thank you.
All right, well, let's now just take a quick break so that I can refill my cup. And don't forget to subscribe while you watch and learn something from those who support this show.
Introducing 123 Read to Me. We give books to children who don't have books so they can succeed. Help us give away books to supported playgroups, kindergartens, schools, community events. Come and sort books. Donate money. $5 equals one book in the hand of a child. Because just one book a day creates clever, kind and confident kids. 123 Read to Me. If this interests you, let's talk.
You've ticked the boxes: career, commitments, calendar that's more packed than your pantry, but something's still missing. In Compassionate Purpose, Andrea Pudding invites you to stop chasing busy and start living with intention. This book is about real fulfillment through small acts of compassion, purpose-driven service, and meaning that last. No pressure, no perfection, just purpose with heart. Compassionate Purpose, Discovering a Life of Fulfillment. Search for Andrea Pudding on Amazon. Everyone, I'd really like to talk about what I touched on before about bullying in the workplace. And I know you do a bit of work on that, and you have a framework you call Belong, and I love that. I just like the word because it means so much to me about the importance that we all have. We all need to feel a sense of belonging in not just in our workplace, but in our homes, in our community. We need to have that. So please tell me about your Belong framework.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Yes, when I work with workplaces to help them get rid of bullying or to make sure that bullying doesn't happen, like bullying awareness, bullying prevention, I always remind workplaces, in particular HR managers, about the importance of creating a culture of belonging. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a man late last year. He works in the Melbourne CBD, and he said to me, whenever I go to work, I press the button on the lift and the lift takes me to my floor. From memory, it was like floor 21 or something. And he said, as soon as the lift doors open and I have to walk into my office, I physically, literally start shaking. I start sweating. My heart starts beating because I am concerned about being judged, being ridiculed, being spoken down on. And I asked myself the question, does this man feel a sense of belonging? And the answer was no, he doesn't, because he feels really nervous, anxious, scared to go there. So when I work with workplaces, I put the message out there that when it comes to creating a culture of belonging, it has to start from the top. It has to start from the top and then it filters down to the bottom of the organization. And every single person has got a part to play in creating a culture of belonging. Now, we often hear about creating a culture of inclusion. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
inclusion, diversity, they are good, they are important. My point is that belonging takes it that one step further. Diversity and inclusion. If I could give you a quote, it's like this: diversity and inclusion invite you to the table.
Yes,
Belonging makes you feel that you have a place at the table where you can be yourself.
that's
So it's,
beautiful, Ron.
yeah, thank you, Andrea, thank you. So it's really important for organizations to look beyond inclusion and diversity and look at belonging from a point of this. If I went to every single staff member in my organization and I asked them the question, do you feel like you belong here? What do you think they will say? And according to you, what is an acceptable response? For example, if 90% say to me, yes, I feel I belong, will you be happy with that? But what about the other 10%? What can you do to create a culture of belonging where everyone feels like they belong, they can be themselves, and where there is belonging, bullying by default will not exist because people will treat each other with respect, with kindness, with courtesy, compassion, and all of those things. And the cornerstone of creating belonging is empathy. If you are empathic towards everyone around you, you will be a leading example of how to create belonging in any organization or any structure or any framework.
Well, that's really, it's so important, isn't it? And looking from a business perspective, if you're the business owner, if you have I'm going to say community in your
Yeah,
workplace that
yeah,
all feel like they belong, they're
yeah,
going to be contributing a whole lot more.
100%.
So it's really important for that productivity,
Yeah,
profit,
yeah, yeah.
and innovation. You need to have people feeling like they belong. So, what
Yes, yes.
does an emotional supportive culture actually look like?
If you are feeling emotionally safe at work, you will bring your true self to the workplace and you will always feel like you are being supported. So, I'll give an example. I did a workshop at a workplace about belonging, and there was one lady who said, I never open my mouth in a team meeting. I might have good ideas that will work, but I never speak up. And I said to her, I said, why is that? And she said, in the past, if I said something in a team meeting, I was never taken seriously.
Mm,
So when somebody feels like that, clearly she didn't feel like she belonged there. Clearly there was something there that made her feel like she cannot be herself, she cannot talk openly, she won't be taken seriously. But if there was belonging in the workplace, she would not think twice before opening up and sharing her ideas. And I won't go into this, Andrea, but there have been so many studies done in the US here as well that show that when there is a culture of belonging, staff members, like you said, they are more likely to stay, they are more likely to be productive, and the bottom line, productivity, profit, all those things are affected when your staff members are happy, when they wish to stay on board, when they wish to be innovative and bring ideas to the table. So belonging is not just a catchphrase or something that you should, tick a box with. It's something that you should take really seriously for the sustainability and the growth of your business.
absolutely. It's really vital. We underestimate the need for belonging. It's
Mm,
actually our number one need
yes,
above everything else is to feel like
yes,
we belong.
yes.
So, Ron, if you could say one thing to a child or even an adult who is being bullied right now, what would that be?
I would say please realize you are not alone. There is support out there. There is a lot of support out there. Please never think that you can handle this by yourself because there are people out there who care about you. They want you to be happy. So please reach out for support. Do not suffer in silence. And please remember this too shall pass. It's this is a part of your life. which will make you stronger if you have the right support mechanisms in place. But please remember, you can get through this.
Quickly, Ron, how can people get in touch with you?
Go to our website, beatbullyingwithconfidence.com.
Thank you, Ron. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today, and it's really been eye-opening to really look at bullying, and hopefully we can help some people deal with that. And so between that now, subscribe and share a chocolate and coffee with somebody different to you. And always, until next time, let love be the loudest voice.